So, hey, happy Easter and happy spring, right? You know, spring started on March 20th, and we had our vernal equinox at 11:33 a.m. So that was the official start of spring, just for all of you guys that are, into numbers and all that stuff. So we've come out of winter, and typically that's our time of introspection and hibernation, and we've went into spring, where it's time for us to plant our new seeds and our new thoughts and make decisions about what it is we're going to do next. I know, scary. Well, wait until we get to the end of the talk, and then we'll. So as we know, last week was Palm Sunday. And perhaps you heard the story of the 6-year-old boy that had to stay home from church because he wasn't feeling well. Well, when the rest of the family returned home carrying palm branches, the little boy asked, what were they for? And his mother said, well, people held them over Jesus' head as he walked by. Wouldn't you know it, the boy exclaimed, the one Sunday I don't go to church and Jesus shows up. What can I say, a little humor there, and it was about Jesus, so we did good there. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about Easter, its symbolisms, and about the metaphysical meaning of Easter and how it relates to us as good religious scientists. And because we're metaphysicians, right? We're part of that whole metaphysical universe. So first things first, metaphysics, the simple definition is to go beyond the physical or go beyond the laws of physics. And Ernest Holmes, our founder, here's what he said. And when Randy said he had a quote, I'm like, oh, God, please not be mine. Then he's probably got more than one quote. So thanks for not using my quote, Randy. So here's what Ernest said. The law of mind or spirit are not different from the laws of chemistry and physics. Metaphysics begins where physics leaves off. So back to Palm Sunday for a minute. First of all, Easter and Christmas are the two biggest Christian religions. So, Easter's a pretty big deal for the Christians, and so they had Palm Sunday last week, and metaphysically to us, that meant for us to start honoring the Christ within us. And those palms that they used, it was Jesus' victory over his earthly ministry. Remember, he rode in on the ass, and they waved hands and all over there. So that's what Palm Sunday means, but for us, it's more of this tradition of us sinking into our oneness and knowing that we are all Christ within. So, Easter, it's rich with deep meaning, and it is about us renewing life. And it's no accident that Easter comes in union with the vernal equinox, the season of spring. Because look around nature. I don't know about you guys, but I'm sure Jim is pretty happy that all the leaves have fallen off the trees and the pollen, right? Because now we have this beautiful green trees, and the azaleas are blooming, and the flowers are blooming, and everything is blooming. And, it's nature coming into its own. It's showing us that. And we're starting to come alive more, right? Everybody's used to daylight savings times now. Everybody's here on time, so that means you're used to it. But we feel like we have more time in the day because the days are long and we have more energy. Way before Jesus, those pagans, they had lots of celebrations. And it wasn't actually until the Nicaea Council in 300 years after the death that the Christians started celebrating Easter. You see, they wanted to create one celebration. They wanted those pagans to stop partying. They wanted to make it a little bit more dignified. We're showing them. Well, do you ever wonder why Easter's celebrated on different days every year? Well, it has to do with the phase of the moon, and some of you may know this, but I'm going to give you a little refresher. It's the first full moon after the vernal equinox of March 20th. So Easter can move from March 22nd to April 25th. And just a side note, I was an Easter bunny many years ago, born on Easter, so it moves around. So did anybody notice what happened last night? Did you go outside? Was it a full moon? Duh, we're having Easter today. See, it works. So Easter actually comes from the feast of Estra. And of course, Estra, as in estrogen, but more importantly, she was the goddess of spring or the goddess of fertility. You see, in winter, the chickens would stop laying their eggs, and in spring, they would start laying their eggs again. And the egg is a perfect round, so it's symbolic for us, because the egg is kind of like life without end. And I see some really pretty dresses today, right? Getting dressed up in our new Easter dress. It's a symbol of new birth and new life, because back in the day, those ancestors of ours, they wore the same clothes all year, and by spring, they were getting pretty potent. So they got the new dresses, and that was truly a new beginning for them. And I don't know about you, but I grew up Presbyterian, and my mother dragged me to church, but every Easter I had to get a new dress, and I didn't like that, a new dress, and I had to wear it. But the most important thing was I'd get my Easter basket, but I couldn't eat any candy until I came home from Sunday school. Torture, I'll tell you. But what about the Easter bonnets? You have your dresses and your Easter bonnets. Well, it started in Europe, and then a little bit after 1870s, after we had the Civil War, we started wearing our bonnets and stuff. So the women would get dressed up all pretty and put their Easter bonnets on, and they would go to church, and then they would stream out in the streets and stuff and have this parade. And so in New York City, they still have an Easter bonnet parade. It's celebrated on Fifth Avenue. So, okay, I've talked a lot about it, but here's the really, really big question. What's up with the Easter Bunny? Where did it come from? Once again, it was from a pagan holiday, and it was revolved around the vernal equinox. You see, according to the legend, Estra, the spring of goddess, she would turn a bird into a rabbit. And this rabbit was supposedly be able to fly as fast as a bird. But he was still upset that he wasn't a bird. So she took pity on the creature, and one day out of the year, on the vernal equinox, she allowed the rabbit to lay eggs. And colored eggs, in fact. It's true, Judy. So due to the proximity of Easter and the vernal equinox, the converted pagans continued to associate this with a new holiday, and it's kind of continued. And, of course, my maiden name is Braun, so I'm a good German, and those Germans, they invented the chocolate bunnies in the 19th century. Go Germans. So enough of that. Now getting down to Jesus, because it is Easter. What was Jesus really trying to teach us? Well, he went through the process of crucifixion, death, and resurrection, didn't he? He went through those to teach us that we go through this experiences many times in our lives. And I really believe that that's how we evolve, by going through this process. I mean, Jesus' teachings were simple, but over the millennia, a vast majority of people have lost sight of what he was teaching, and they've started believing in the world of effects instead of the oneness of God. And so he was just trying to show us that we go through these phases. So his life from conception to his resurrection was really the symbolic journey of his soul. It's the symbolic of our soul, forever and ever rising up. So I want to talk a few minutes about the phases. The first phase is crucifixion. It represents putting to death of our limited thoughts, attitudes, and beliefs. It's letting go of those unwanted habits that keep us captive by the ego or our little self. And as we allow our ego self to be tamed by our true self, our spiritual nature, our Christ consciousness, can rise up. So metaphysically speaking, the crucifixion is a symbol of the initiation into higher realms of consciousness. Now, this initiation has got to be done alone. I mean, people can help us, but we have to go through it by ourselves, don't we? How many of you have felt crucified before? The definition really just means suffering. So in order for us to be resurrected, we have to go through death, and in that process, we have to be crucified. Of course, I'm talking metaphysically here. We're all still here. We're all good. But it's those old belief systems that don't die easily. And you know what I call belief systems? BS. We've been holding on to them for years. If you were a girl, you had one set of BS. If you were a boy, you had one set, right? If you were white, if you were black, right? We grew up with that. But it's those belief systems that we're trying to let go of, right? It's because we're trying to make a change in our lives. And sometimes we do have to endure a little suffering. So the crucifixion just simply represents the death of the individual, the death of whatever we're trying to let go of. You know, Ernest Holmes, one of his favorite teachers was Emerson. And Emerson said that it's the surrender, we're trying to surrender our bloated nothingness. So our second phase, death. Once again, symbolic death. It's letting go of the old to allow the new to come in. So I had a friend, and he was very wise, and he said to me one time, he said, you know, when one door closes and another door opens, it could be, you know, heck in the hallway. And that's true. And that's true. It can be heck. But that doesn't mean that we don't do it. We still do it, don't we? But we may go kicking and screaming, and it may take us a long time, but we always get it done. Or hey, we're evolved. Maybe we volunteered to let go of some of that BS. What we need to remember is that we know that something better is coming along, and that we need to stay connected to our oneness. We need to stay connected to our heart. So really, death means the change of our old, outdated belief systems. It means us getting rid of some of our stinking thinking. And it means just allowing that process to happen within us. We've all had many deaths in our lifetime. How many of you have ended a relationship? How many of you have had to move unexpectedly? How many of you have had your jobs all of a sudden stop? I mean, you know what I'm talking about, right? Just these symbolic deaths, and at the time you're absolutely devastated by it and think, oh my God, what is going to happen? But you evolve and you grow, and it's always for the best. So it's just the dying of the old to allow the new to come into our lives. So what happened after Jesus died? This is a quiz. Come on. Yeah, but there's one step in between. They put him in that tomb. Yeah, I don't care about the ointment. Black rock over it, Trump, I'm in there. But that's important to us, because he was in there 3 days, and that's, for us, it represents the place of transformation, the time it takes for us to change our minds, which enables us to break out and release the old habits. So this kind of represents the metaphysical trinity. The time it takes, not in earth times, but in the evolution of our consciousness, to bring together spirit, which is working through law, to create a new resurrected experience. So the time in the tomb is the time it takes for us to accept that new birth. It's the time for us to get the idea of a new way of living. So I call it the incubation period. And it could take you 3 days, 3 seconds, 3 lifetimes. It's all according to your receptiveness of your soul and how much you really want to change that depth. You know, sometimes we go through this and we change a little bit, But sometimes when we get on the other side, it's like this, oh my God, I can't believe this is, it's so wonderful. So it's up to us, it's up to our soul, obviously, to do the work. And once again, we got to do it alone. Okay, so now comes the good part. Finally, it's the resurrection. I was at Sprouts the other day, and they had a whole magazine on the resurrection of Christ. I didn't buy it because I wanted to spend $12 because I know the answer, but I just thought it was kind of cute that it was there. They'll make magazines for anything. Resurrection, the Latin root means to rise again or to appear. So it means lifting up the whole person into Christ consciousness. Isn't that what we're always about? Lifting ourselves up into this Christ consciousness and this oneness, because we know we're all God, so it's just us embodying ourselves more in it. So just as Jesus rose and was resurrected, we too are able to rise and embrace new ideas. Just think of the caterpillar. You don't think that caterpillar did not suffer? I mean, the poor little guy here's a little caterpillar, and then he goes into this little cocoon, and I don't know, his body turns all kinds of stuff, and then what happens? He's transformed. It goes from this little, I think caterpillars are cute, little caterpillar to this beautiful butterfly. You see, that's what we're doing. We're getting rid of what's standing in our way, and we're going through these processes, and we're moving to a higher level. And the interesting thing about this is every time we go through one of these processes, we come back, but we have a little higher evolution, don't we? We have a little higher evolution. Here's what Dr. Holmes says. To practice the presence of God is to awaken within us the Christ consciousness. Christ is God in the soul of man. The resurrection is the death of the belief that we are separated from God. For death is the illusion alone and not reality. God did not die. What happened was that man awoke to life. The awakening must be part of man, since God is life. So we're lifting ourselves up. Change your thinking, change your life. Does that sound familiar to anybody? So you see, resurrection isn't something that just happened, 2,500 years ago? It was before me anyway. It's going on continuously, though. It occurs when we lift our consciousness out of the world of effects into our Christ consciousness. So, having said all that, I would like to tell you a little story to illustrate it. You know, Jesus taught in parables, so he liked to tell stories, so I'm going to tell one. And I call it The Necklace. The cheerful little girl with bouncy golden curls was almost 5. Waiting for her mother at the checkout stand, she saw them, a circle of glistening white pearls in a pink foil box. "Oh, Mommy, please. Oh, Mommy, can I have them, please?" Quickly, the mom checked the back of the little foil box and looked back into the pleading eyes of her daughter. $1.95. I think this story was back in the 50s. I was thinking about changing it to like $39.95, but this is cuter. $1.95. That's almost $2. If you really want them, I think I can give you some extra chores, and in no time you can save enough money to buy them for yourself. Your birthday's only a week away, and maybe your grandma will give you another dollar bill. So as soon as Jenny got home, she emptied her piggy bank, and she counted out 17 pennies. So after dinner, she did more than her share of chores, and she went over to her next door neighbor and asked her if she could do a couple chores, so she got some more money. And on her birthday, her grandma did give her another new dollar bill. And at last, Jenny had enough to buy the necklace. She loved those pearls. They made her feel dressy and grown up. She wore them everywhere. Sunday school, kindergarten, even to bed. The only time she took them off was when she went swimming or had a bubble bath, because her mother told her that they might turn green. And Ginny had a very loving dad, and every night when she was ready for bed, he would stop whatever he was doing and we'd come upstairs and he'd read her a story. One night, as he finished the story, he asked Ginny, "Do you love me?" "Oh, yes, Daddy, you know I love you." "Then give me your pearls." "Oh, Daddy, not my pearls, but you can have Princess the White Horse from my collection. Remember that, Daddy? You gave her to me, and she's my favorite." "That's okay, honey. Daddy loves you. Good night," and he brushed her cheek with a kiss. About a week after story time, a week later, Ginny's dad asked again, "Do you love me?" "Daddy, you know I love you." "Then give me your pearls." "Oh, Daddy, not my pearls, but you can have my baby doll, the brand new one I got for my birthday. She's pretty, and you can have the yellow blanket that she came with." "That's okay. Sleep well. God bless you, little one, and Daddy loves you." And as always, he gave her a little kiss. So what was Ginny doing right now? She's going through that crucifixion stage, isn't she? She wants to do what her daddy asked, but she can't seem to give up those pearls. So a few nights later, when her dad came in, Ginny was sitting on her bed with her legs crossed, and as her dad came closer, he noticed that her chin was trembling and one little silent tear rolled down her cheek. And he says, "Ginny, what's the matter?" Ginny didn't say anything, but she lifted up her little hand to her dad, and when she opened it, there was the little pearl necklace. With a little quiver, she finally said, "Daddy, these are for you." With tears gathering in his own eyes, Ginny's dad reached in to take the dime store necklace, and with the other hand, he reached into his pocket and he pulled out a blue velvet case with a strand of genuine pearls and gave them to Ginny. He had them all the time. He was just waiting for her to give her the dime store stuff so she could have the genuine ones. So she went through those 3 stages, didn't she? And she did make up her mind to give those pearls away. And she got something even better. I mean, she got real stuff, you know what I'm saying? So my question to you is, are you wearing green pearls? Is there stuff that you can go through and give up and be resurrection and move on? Because for the religious scientists and metaphysicians everywhere, Easter is a time of renewal and recommitment. It is a celebration of our unity and our oneness with God and our ever-evolving soul. And so it is. So I'm going to take this into prayer real quick here as we think about Ginny and her pearls. So we know that there is one God, one source, one incredible, infinite intelligence. And that intelligence is right here, right now, in this very room. You can feel the presence of God right here. And as these words sink in and we ponder, we just know that we are ever and ever evolving. And this is good, and this is very good. I am so grateful for this teaching. I am so grateful for Ernest Holmes that was able to put this all together. I'm so grateful for this community, this loving community. And I'm grateful for Reverend Lane and Terry that they're out celebrating life. So with an attitude of gratitude and a heart filled with goodness and knowing that it's Easter and it is all good, I just simply proclaim, and so it is.